Am I recording that? Grant,
So yeah, so I'm PR officer, but I'm webmaster. So I was always webmaster, and I do social media as part of that as well.
Talking to you about the website, about changes, is the right person to be talking to?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is, yeah.
So what I had then basically for this research is I was looking at the adult, or the mature learner, I should say the adult learner, and I interviewed 2 people from my own group, and it was lovely to actually speak to them. And I think we should kind of appreciate them a little bit more, and that they bring so much to the groups. But sometimes they don't come alive until 2nd, 3rd term because they've been so nervous.
True.
So what I wanted to do for this, or what I suggested for this, was that like a forum or a board kind of be added to the website. Now, initially I thought a website on its own.
Right.
And I've looked, and there's a lot of these kind of ones in the UK, they called it the classroom or something like that, where people basically can go online and talk about stuff. What do you think about the idea? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it,
probably would be more accessible than, say, for example, using VLE. The VLE would have a feature that you would be able to do that. There's a forum feature to VLE.
Right.
The problem is that a lot of people maybe they underutilise the VLE because it depends on the extent to which a particular department chooses to use the VLE. The problem with VLE is it's very well suited to programs like media and business, but in the creative area, like for example visual arts, it may not lend itself so well to it. It's good from an organisational perspective, but it may not be good from a creative perspective. So therefore, if there's a low usage, it means that the learners will have a low awareness of it. And if they have a low awareness, then they probably won't use the forums. And I would have had experience of trying to set up forums and use forums previously with classes, just to get them to discuss issues, where you post a question and get them to have a discussion.
That's it,
and in UL, certainly from my courses, we would have been encouraged to engage with things like that in Blackboard and Solus and some of the other VLEs. They didn't generally work. And as you said, in particular, because your area of research is mature learners, they in particular might be inhibited by going on to an environment like that, because it would be more wide or open to other learners, where they might feel that they were exposing their own inability to do maybe technical things or whatever it is. Whereas if they had a forum where, as you said, it was specific to mature learners talking about their experience and being able to share things, then I think that would be a great idea. So I think what would be better would be an add-in to the main website. Now, how you would do that would probably be as a sub-site of the main site. But the people's user experience would be that they go to a particular page on a website to access it, and then they click, and then it would bring them up. And the reason I'd recommend that is because you'd probably be better to use a blogging site to do that. So using something like WordPress or just Blogger or anything simple and straightforward, the easier the better for them to be able to use it, because the more likely they are to use it.
Well, it's funny because the particular one of the students that I interviewed has gone down to the art college now, and it's actually, they all have to have their own blog, and this girl was afraid of the computers, so it's brilliant. It just shows you, I think, if you show people, they are able to use it.
For sales presentation module that I was delivering to the fashion learners here in the college, they would have had to do, it wasn't part of the module, but for the competition that they were entering, not the Student Media Awards, but the Fashion Awards, which name escapes me now, who the sponsor is of the Fashion Awards. The Fashion Awards specifically require them to actually use a blog. The Nokia's, because it was sponsored by Nokia, so they wanted them to use blogging. And that worked a treat. Same story. A lot of them coming in would never have had experience using computers. So I would have taught them how to use, say, for example, PowerPoint as a presentation tool, but allowing them to use their creativity, putting in loads of images and things like that into it, but then to build their blogs using a lot of the images as well. So it's great, because that prepares them then before they go to
it's their CV now, I think, really, the blogs are,
It is,
Okay, so then a blog, I hadn't thought kind of that way. And then what about, do you think it would be like, someone would say, like myself, that would actually kind of put up a question, almost start a thread and get it moving that way and monitor it? How about monitoring these things?
Yeah, like I said, in UL, when we use Solus and Blackboard for that function, we found that amongst the undergrads that there might be a little bit of competition starting to come through, where, say, there was a percentage in the module for it.
Right.
So say there was 5% in a module or whatever for commenting and all these things, and it became a bit competitive. I think that might be dangerous for mature learners, because they might feel inhibited by the type of activity that goes on. But I think you're right. If you were to say, for example, put up an image for discussion, or you were to put up maybe, you know, ideas around a topic, and got them then to actually take it from there.
But I mean, I wanted it to be really like, you know, as I said, looking at the ones in the UK, basically it's kind of, you know, a thread, just introduce yourself here, and then there's another thread kind of, you know, I'm unsure about the modules I've chosen, because obviously they can change that stage. So I just wanted to be kind of like a support more than, I had thought about showcasing their work, but then I was thinking that's very visual arts based.
And the blog kind of does that already?
Yeah, but I'm trying to see if this would suit across the actual college, you know. So I mean, like, it's fine for the visual arts because you could put up something that they can discuss, but I don't think the others would have, you know, as much with that. So
The other experience that I have is of social media, and as kind of controller of content for our
Do you do that for the Facebook?
Yes.
Right, okay.
And I would monitor that very closely and watch what's been posted there. In general, it tends to be the younger ones who will post questions quite freely, in fact overly freely, because maybe they don't even filter themselves, and they don't realise maybe what they're saying, or maybe that they're posting too personal question related to their own you know, private security and identity. So in general, what we usually advise is that learners would private message us on Facebook, and we get a lot of private messaging us on Facebook with queries. Now that might be a means of doing it, but again, I think a mature applicant or a mature learner on a course is not necessarily going to do that.
And a Facebook is kind of a younger man's game. I think they think that anyway.
So I think that's the problem. I think they're less likely to post things, and they'll have a proper filter anyway, that they'll know that they shouldn't maybe post something that's overly personal to themselves on there. So I think you're absolutely right. That's where I think yours would fit much better if there was a forum stroke blog set up where they could interact with it. That would be brilliant. But what it would need would be somebody who would specifically manage that. And it should probably be in the learning support area that it's managed. So, you know, the way at the moment that we have kind of a crisis management team or support team, well, that you would put a team in place who might be responsible for mature learners in the college. Now, I know the Learning Support Service gets an awful lot of those queries anyway. So therefore, if it was say a group of teachers specifically with the Learning Support Service who would kind of monitor it and be almost moderators for that page, then they could be, so that way it wouldn't end up being too much work for any one individual, but that it would be a successful environment. Because what's most important is, and this is one of the problems with why forums don't work on virtual learning environments, is that people post questions but then they're not active after that. So they're active initially, but then they don't use it. So to make something successful, you have to constantly make it successful by constantly posting things. The teachers need to support it through talking about it all the time and posting things
and it could be something, it needs to be discussed in induction really, so that people who are nervous at that stage get involved in it. I spoke with Margaret and Carmel, and they, you know, they're a little bit iffy about the whole online thing, which, you know, because they say face to face, and I totally agree with that. So, you know, I was kind of going maybe a bit of both. That you know, there's initially they meet over coffee, and they kind of introduce themselves. If that was it, like a kind of like a mature learner's coffee morning. And then that they kind of feel a little bit safer then going online and discussing.
That's a really good idea. And in UL and Mary I, you probably know that they have the actual learning support or support service in general for mature applicants, so that they bring them all together and they meet them on a regular basis, but they have a coffee with them at the start of the year to talk about things and to say, look, now you all get to know each other so that you can work together, and then you know where we are and our services are available.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
I think particularly here that would be something very helpful.
And it could be something kind of kind of, it could be the student union, kind of mature student union. I don't know, is that such a thing? Like, I know the student union is to cover everyone.
Yeah,
but I mean,
absolutely.
like I would love to know the percentage of what our mature learners are, because they have gone way higher now.
Talking to LIT, they would say that there's 25% mature learners this year for them, and that is their highest figure ever. Whereas in the past they would have had a much lower intake of mature. We would have a high intake of mature learners in the university, but not in the ITs. So they're 25%, and they're looking now at specific to how they can handle that situation.